Hey everyone, hope you're having a wonderful week. Welcome to today's technical analysis. As usual, every Wednesday we drop an analysis. Today I have a few gems I'm going to share with you guys, looking at the dollar, what's going to be affected. Later on today we have inflation numbers coming out, CPI, consumer price index. So that's what we're going to also pay attention to, and a lot on the dollar. A few things happening on Japanese yen pairs as well. The dollar has really been rising against the Japanese yen, but I don't trade really much on those ones, so I won't do much analysis on that. But apart from that, this is what I have for you guys, and come, let's hop on and see what I have for you. What you're seeing up here, this is Forex Factory. So what we just have this week, we didn't have any major news, okay? But today, later on at 3:30, we have core CPI, or better known as inflation, okay, from the US. So this is trading. This is Forex Factory. For more information, you can go to, this is trading economics. So United States inflation rate, which is coming out later on today. So why is it important? Why should you pay attention to this? Because as you can see, inflation is at 8.5%, which is very high. If you look at a 10-year history, you can see it's currently at all-time highs, okay? If you look at a 25-year history, you're seeing the same thing happening, okay? And that's mainly why you're seeing the Fed's really increasing the interest rates, okay? So they're really tightening so that they can help curb inflation. Because it's going and moving very fast, okay? It's moving too high, too fast, okay? So that's why they're really increasing interest rates, and that's why you're seeing a lot of why the dollar is really rising, because of markets, participants factoring that information into the markets and betting that the dollar can strengthen from where it is, okay? But markets are never perfect. We are yet to see what will actually happen. So pay attention to what is going to come out today. Might affect markets, so that's what I'm waiting to see later on today, okay? So if you go to the charts, what we can start with, just looking at that dollar that we're talking about, where is it at the moment? Currently, what is it doing? As I said last week, even before I go into this, if you pay attention, if you're in part of our groups, that's WhatsApp group, Discord, I also shared my analysis yesterday for this week. So you can see I broke down the markets, showing different analysis. And then on Wednesday, I normally add up by sharing a few visual analysis of what I'm talking about. But mainly, I normally share here on Mondays and Tuesdays, and I keep updating it. So once you get the link, you can always check for the updates as the week goes on, okay? So starting at DXY, what are we looking at? As I said last week, and also this week I'll say again, market is at all-time highs pre-COVID levels, okay? Or rather post-COVID levels. Market topped at 103 before COVID, or during the height of COVID, before market crashed when the interest rates were being lowered. And I said immediately once the market started getting information that the Feds were to tighten, we've seen this bullish trend coming into the markets. So fundamentally, the interest rates, as we keep saying, is the backbone of a lot of markets, okay? So that you should pay a lot of attention to, because we saw the same knockoff happening on the stock market, the same knockoff happening on the cryptocurrency market as well, okay? So what are we seeing today? So as I said, currently market is at over 103, where market was before COVID. And what I'm paying attention to is, what is market really doing at this level, okay? So if you pay a lot of attention here, we're seeing once market broke above that resistance level that I've highlighted in red, market has not really gotten a lot of momentum to the upside, okay? You can see we got this breakout. We didn't get a strong follow through. What did we get? Market broke back below this level, quickly went back above, and now we're not really getting that momentum moving either up or down. If I go to the 4-hour chart, you can even see it much clearly. We had sort of this flag formation, but really market is just dangling within this level, okay? So I'm paying attention to see if maybe we can get a bit of a correction to the downside before we see any further movement to the upside. But this market price action that I'm seeing over here, that failed follow through, failed momentum to the upside, can really cause market maybe to correct quite a bit to the downside before we further get those longs, okay? So with that being said, now what am I watching? Because that's also helping me prepare for the markets I'm watching, things like gold and things like Dow Jones, okay? So if I go to Dow Jones, or let me start with gold daily chart, what are we seeing? Market really moved down, okay? You can see where market is currently. I was waiting for a buy position around these levels, okay? And what are we seeing? We're seeing sort of like a trend line bounce around this level. I was waiting for a further move to the downside, at least to touch the lower boundary of the flag, but markets are not perfect. I'll pay attention to how market is going to close later on today, because that's what is going to be my deciding factor, okay? So I'll be paying a lot of attention to that, especially on the daily chart. But on the 4-hour chart, as the day goes by, I'm also paying attention to the patterns that are forming, okay? I shared this yesterday's analysis, the one that I just showed you that we had. Where is it? This one over here. So if you go to the link, if you're in our Discord group, just go to the link and check out what I shared about gold. Okay, here it is. I was talking about this level over here. This is where all the confirmation will be fetched from, depending on the patterns that are going to form here, both in terms of price action and market structure, will trigger buyers to start getting aggressive. Okay, so that's exactly what I'm watching. Here's that level I was talking about. We saw yesterday market pushed further lower, coming to around 1833 level. I'm still waiting to see if market maybe can push to the 1825, still to the downside, before that strong momentum starts. Okay, so that's what I'll be watching. I don't know if today's inflation rates will act as a catalyst, but we are yet to see. I never like predicting that action. I like just waiting and responding to what the market will give me. So that's what I'm watching on this one. Let's see how, if market can get that further move to the downside, get a confirmation candlestick. I won't just buy because market has gone to 1825. I'll wait for a confirmation candlestick and start buying in slowly. And if market closes above this highlighted region, which is the 1850, then I'll be confident that market can continue moving up at least back to 1900 before we predict further movement to the upside. Okay, so that's what I'm watching on that one. Cover the daily chart, and yes, okay, so a lot of confluence to be watched around this level. If I move down to the Dow Jones, yeah, if you go to Dow Jones, sort of the same thing I'm also watching. Can we get some buy positions? I'm still waiting for market also on this one to move further lower. I'm still not yet where market is. I'm not yet bullish, and that's the same thing I shared yesterday. I'm mainly looking for market, at least following this formation that I'm showing here, to hit the 31,500 mark, around that level. Looking at the 4-hour chart, yes, that's still further movement to the downside. Okay, so I'm still watching. It's just that the 4-hour chart, the sort of this pattern that I like watching as well, can help curb market. If market pushes above the 32,300, it can hold around that level, because remember, 32,300 was a strong major support level previously. You can see here we got a bounce, market moved up, got a double bottom formation, and market moved higher. Okay, and that's the same place market has come back, but this time with a different tone, because you're seeing we've broken it twice. So I want to pay attention to market action, price action, how it's going to form around here moving forward. But on the daily chart, bigger time perspective, I'm more of a swing trader, so I don't really go down to the 15-minute and 30 minutes to look for analysis. My higher time frame analysis is on the daily chart. My trading time frame analysis is on the 4-hour. So I'll be waiting to see if market can come here and maybe if we can get some buy position. So what I'll just do today mostly is look at the price action, because something else that can happen if market does not move down as much as I want or where I'm looking for, I'll be paying attention to see if we can close above this highlighted region. What I was talking about, the previous support, can it be broken to the upside and market starts moving higher? Okay, so that's what I'm watching on US 30. Apart from that, USD card, Aussie dollar, let me start with Aussie dollar. The patterns that I was watching on these ones are more or less complete. Okay, we had a good flag formation on the daily chart, which was completed yesterday. Okay, more or less even the day before yesterday, on Monday. If you look at this long term, let me first go to the weekly chart, because I was sharing it on the analysis, something that people are not really paying attention to, but you should pay attention to. Look at this weekly chart, long term analysis. Market was bound to move further lower after getting that trend line bounce. What do I mean? You can see these first multiple touches of the trend line at this level. Market really trended to the downside. We came and retested that level, got a move to the downside, and then we've retested it yet again over here at this 0.7550 level. You can see that resistance, quite a good resistance, acted as a support, broke down, now acting as resistance. Got that shooting star formation, rejection of the trend line, and market moved further down. Now what I'm also paying attention to is that market is moving down in the form, this can be form of a channel or a flag as well, because this is an impulse. This can be a correction, and maybe this can move to become an impulse to the upside if market does not really maintain below the 0.700 level. Okay, so if you look at now the daily chart, I'm paying attention to that short term sort of like a channel or a flag formation. Okay, So this is what I'm paying attention to. How will market come to this level, as reject this level? Will we break it, or will we bounce off it and move further up? And my main level of watching is the 0.700 level. Can we break above it? Okay, so that's what I'll be watching on this one. On the 4-hour chart, patterns are really complete, because what I was talking about on the daily, that the market was completing the pattern, was sort of this impulsive move, sort of a flag pattern, resistance level, and then market moved, and they kept talking about targets over here, which you can check them out on the analysis I shared on Notion, on Discord. Okay, so that's what I was watching on that one. If you go to the 4-hour chart, there's a third trendline bounce, which was quite good. Okay, so this is sort of my counter trendline. This is something that's also I'm paying attention to see if market will break above it. Okay, so you can see this first touch, second touch, third touch. Market had that strong momentum to the downside. Quite a good trade. Most people got fooled by this bullish candlestick, but the bull factors were often ignored in this bear market. Okay, so that's why we saw market really falling to the downside below the 0.700 level. So currently I'm watching to see how will market come to this line down here, and how will we reject it? Will we bounce off it, or will we break it? Okay, so that's what I'm watching to see. And last but not least, USD card, same thing happened, just like Aussie dollar. I'm looking at this big picture narrative. You can see it's more or less big picture narrative of a sort of a channel flag formation. You can see this move to the downside. We got that basic correction. Market has now broken the resistance level 1.2950. Okay, you can see we had, ever since we broke below, we've never been above it. That was back in 2020 December. You can see that retest, market moved down, we got another retest, we got a third retest. On the fourth time, market broke it to the upside, and we're looking more or less that market can move further up. Of course, we can look to retest the 1.2950 level. Let's look at it on the 4-hour chart. We can easily retest it. That's what market is sort of trying to do. Act as a support, and then market to rally further up. Or else, we can also move further down, maybe bounce off this sort of forming trend line, okay, for a third time, and then market moves further up. But if we're unable to maintain above the 1.2950 level, then market can really get that bearish momentum to the downside, okay? Which can confirm that we're sort of getting a failed follow through on this one, and market sellers are really coming in. So that's what I'm watching on USD card. Apart from that, I don't have anything much. If I just do a rough analysis of the others, Euro USD, what are we looking at? So Euro USD is sort of the same narrative of what we're seeing on DXY. Ever since we got this strong momentum this week and late last week, or more or less better part of last week, market hasn't really moved. It's sort of dangling around this region, which is normal. Market needs to breathe after a strong movement on either side. So no bias on this one as well. GBP USD as well. Nothing much. Yeah, we got this strong momentum. I remember this fall came in last week, and market really moved to the downside, and ever since that time we've gotten sort of a consolidation, better seen on the 4-hour. Market hasn't really been moving much. You can see it here. Okay, such times are not times that you sit out of the market. I think these are the times you should pay a lot of attention, because there's a momentum pattern coming through. Okay, more strong momentum play. Okay, so the same thing that happened here. You can see after this impulse, sort of market formed this flag formation correction before we got that strong movement to the downside. Okay, so same thing here. Pay a lot of attention to what market is doing on the lower time frames. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it. I'm seeing a question in the chat room. Rough analysis on any JPY. Johnson is asking. Let me look at USD JPY, but let me not lie to you. I never trade any JPY pair. I've not looked at this analysis for the past quite a long time. So I don't know. All I know is that the Japanese yen has really been losing ground against the dollar across the board. So I'm seeing the dollar really rising. Euro JPY, if you look at it, Ken will do for you guys an analysis on Monday. He's more prone on these ones, doing this analysis. Same thing here I'm seeing. Johnson, I won't lie to you. Let me not do a rough analysis. This is a lot of guesswork I'll be doing. But all I know is that the dollar has been strengthening. The euro has been strengthening. The pound has been strengthening. Most pairs have been strengthening against the yen. Reasons, I'm not really familiar really much. I'm not into the Japanese market that much. But yeah, okay. Part of the reason maybe I might think off my head is a lot of across the board, interest rates are being tightened. But when you come to things like Japanese yen, they have less. They have what's it called, Ken? Yeah, there is negative interest. Yeah, they have negative interest rates, and as a rule of thumb, using carry trade, if you do your research on that carry trade and all that, markets with stronger or higher interest rates are more or less likely to gain against the ones with less interest rates. So that can be a reason, but you can do more research on that. Okay, so that's just fundamental analysis. Technically, I don't know, nothing much on this one. Same thing to GJ, Japanese yen. Same case there. Yeah, so nothing much. Okay, so allow me to stop it there. I see another question. Tamara is asking, today is the CPI news and how does it affect the market? So yeah, that's what I was when I started the analysis. That's what I was talking about, the interest rates. That's basically consumer purchasing index, CPI. That's what CPI means. And basically we're looking at how inflation is affecting. Did I say interest rates before? Yeah, I meant to say about inflation in the market. So consumer price index, just looking at how goods of the country are really rising. Okay, so as I said, let me share my screen. That's what I was showing earlier on. How it's going to affect the market? You should really look at the dollar markets, because at the moment the CPI, or if you look at so if you go to trading economics, go to calendar. Okay, if you go to calendar, I've filtered my calendar, so I've just kept my 3 ratings to filter most of the news that are not really impactful in the market. Go to today is Wednesday, and here's inflation. Okay, so if you go to inflation here, year on year, that's basically the CPI, what we're talking about. If you click on it, what we're looking at is that, look at this trajectory. The inflation in America has been rising very, very fast, okay, for the past 1 year. Last year, April, around a time like now, inflation was just at 4.2%, and right now we've sort of doubled. We're at 8.5%. If you look at a 5-year trajectory, you're seeing this line really rising ever since bottoming at 2020, when interest rates were lowered. Okay, as a rule of thumb, cause and effect, inflation is easy to kick in once that is done. If you look at a 10-year trajectory, you're seeing we're at all-time highs. Okay, if you look at 25-year trajectory, we're still at all-time highs. And if you look at maximum, we have not really reached that high. The highest we've reached is at 20. That was 20% inflation, but that was really long time. I think that was 1945, around there, back then when there was the war. And maybe even during 1920s, it was even worse. But if you look at a 25-year history, this is very, very concerning news. So that's why we're seeing a lot of interest rates being increased around the globe, not only in US, but around many places, Australia, Britain, and many other places. Okay, so this is to help curb this inflation. By inflation, we're seeing a lot of goods rising. Goods are rising in price. You think things like oil, they're really rising in price. Okay, it's very tough on the economy. It's very tough on them. Okay, so this is why we want to pay attention to how inflation is going to affect the markets. Okay, and inflation will affect interest rates will affect inflation. It's sort of a paradox, cause and effect relationship. Cool, I hope I've answered you well, Tamara. Anthony, can I get a rough analysis on gold? Just joining the meeting. Maybe for the sake of others, Anthony, I've done quite an extensive analysis on it, and because of time, let me save on it. It will be uploaded on YouTube later on today, so you can go through it at least before the news comes out at 3:30 for the inflation. But in a nutshell, I'm looking to see if market can go down to about the 1825 level to the downside. If we maintain below the 1850, because currently market is below 1850, if you can get a support at 1825, around that region, and maybe a spike now to push market to the higher side, because we're sort of on a trend line support level. Okay, so that's what I'm watching. Can you analyze using pivots? John is asking. I'm sorry, John, I never use any indicators. I don't have any pivot points. I don't have any indicator. So I'll be doing a lot of guesswork on that. Maybe next time Ken or Taras will help you using pivot points. So Tamara saying, yes, appreciate it. You're totally welcome. Hope you've enjoyed that. Allow me to end it there because of time. I don't see any other questions. So yeah guys, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed that analysis, and as I keep saying and I always insist, if you want to learn what to do and understand how to trade the markets, the forex market, come to offices and we'll show you how to analyze the markets together with the rest of the team. So that's it for today. Hope you have a wonderful weekend, a wonderful week, and may the peeps be with you. See you.